the day you stop feeling like a man. Have you ever walked past your grandkids playing in the yard, wanting to join them, but your body says, "No way, you're too tired"? Or looked at your wife, longing to feel that spark again, only to feel like your body's let you down? If you're over 60 and you've felt that quiet, gnawing fear that you're losing the man you used to be, the guy who could work all day, love all night, and still have energy to spare, then stop right here. I'm Dr. Thomas, a men's health specialist with over 30 years of helping men just like you, and this is for my Living Fully After 50 family. Today, I'm sharing a story that might just give you back the life you thought was gone. It was a chilly Chicago morning in 2018 when Jack Thompson, a 67-year-old retired firefighter, walked into my clinic. His eyes were heavy, not just with fatigue, but with defeat. "Doc," he said, his voice low, "I can't keep up anymore. My grandkids ask me to play, and I'm out of breath in minutes. My wife, Sarah, she looks at me like she's waiting for the old Jack, but he's gone." That moment broke my heart, because Jack wasn't just talking about his body, he was talking about losing his identity. And I knew I had to help him get it back. This isn't about pills or quick fixes. It's about Jack's journey from feeling like a stranger in his own skin to rediscovering the strength, energy, and confidence he thought he'd lost forever. I'm going to share 3 essential vitamins every man over 60 needs, not to just get by, but to thrive. And I'll reveal the one mistake most men make that could sabotage everything. Stick with me, because by the end, you'll know exactly how to start feeling like you again, starting tonight. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell for more life-changing tips from Living Fully After 50. Drop a comment, tell me your city or country, maybe a piece of your story. I read every one, and it means the world to connect with you. If Jack's struggle sounds familiar, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 and let me know how I can help. Let's get into Jack's story and the first key to unlocking your vitality. Vitamin D, the flame that rekindles your drive. Jack sat in my office that day, his hands gripping the armrests like he was holding on to hope itself. "Doc," he said, "I used to carry men out of burning buildings. Now I can't even carry my groceries without feeling winded. And my wife. I want to be there for her, but my body's not cooperating." His voice cracked, and I saw the pain of a man who felt he was letting down the people he loved most. We ran some tests, and the results were a shock not to me, but to Jack. His vitamin D levels were so low they were barely detectable. This wasn't just a lab number, it was the reason his body felt like it was shutting down. Vitamin D isn't just the sunshine vitamin you hear about in cereal commercials. For men over 60, it's the flame that reignites your drive, your circulation, your energy, your masculinity. It's the spark that helps your blood vessels open up, delivering oxygen-rich blood to your muscles, brain, and yes, the parts that make you feel like a man. As the great philosopher Plato once said, "We are twice armed if we fight with faith." For Jack, vitamin D was the weapon he didn't know he needed to fight for himself again. Here's the deal. Over 40% of men over 60 are deficient in vitamin D, even if you're active, even if you eat decently. Why? As we age, our skin gets worse at turning sunlight into vitamin D, and our diets, burgers, fries, maybe the occasional salad, don't cut it. Low vitamin D means less nitric oxide, the molecule that keeps blood flowing where it matters most. Without it, you're tired, foggy, and struggling in ways you might not even talk about. For Jack, it was why he couldn't chase his grandkids or feel close to his wife, Sarah, anymore. I laid out a simple plan for Jack. 15 minutes of morning sunlight, think a walk around the block with his coffee. Add in foods like salmon, tuna, or fortified milk. And, because Chicago winters are brutal, a high-quality vitamin D3 supplement 2,000 to 4,000 IU daily, taken with a meal for better absorption. Jack was skeptical. Sunlight and fish? That's gonna fix me, he asked, one eyebrow raised. I nodded. Trust me, Jack. Your body's been trying to tell you something. Let's listen. A shocking twist. 3 weeks later, Jack came back, and I could see the change before he even spoke. His posture was straighter, his eyes brighter. Doc, I took my grandson to the fire station last weekend. Ran around with him, showed him the trucks, didn't even need a nap after. And Sarah, she's smiling more, if you know what I mean. But here's the twist. Jack had been taking a cheap vitamin D supplement for years, some generic brand from a big box store. When we checked, it was vitamin D2 less effective, barely absorbed. I see this all the time, men thinking they are covered, but they are using the wrong fuel. Switching to D3 was like upgrading from a rusty old truck to a sports car. Another man's fight. Let me tell you about Mike, a 70-year-old retired truck driver from Ohio. Mike came to me last year, complaining he couldn't keep up with his wife's garden projects. I'm letting her down, Doc, he said, his voice heavy. His vitamin D was rock bottom. We started him on morning walks and D3 supplements. 2 months later, he sent me a photo of him and his wife, covered in dirt, laughing in their backyard with a new flow herby they'd built together. I haven't felt this alive in years, he wrote. That's what happens when you give your body the right tools. Vitamin D was Jack's first step, but it wasn't the whole story. Something else was holding him back, something that made him feel like he was dragging through life, even after a good night's sleep. That's where the next piece of the puzzle came in, a nutrient so critical it's like the engine of your entire system. Vitamin B12. The powerhouse that fuels your life. A month into Jack's vitamin D routine, he was feeling better, stronger, more awake. But he pulled me aside during a follow-up and said, Doc, something's still off. I'm not as tired, but my head's foggy. I forget things, where I parked, what I was saying mid-sentence. And when I'm with Sarah, I want to be there, but I just can't. That's when I suspected the next culprit, vitamin B12, the powerhouse that fuels your energy, your brain, and your vitality. B12 is like the gas in your tank. It turns food into energy, builds red blood cells to carry oxygen, and keeps your mind sharp. Without it, you're running on fumes, no matter how much you sleep or how well you eat. As we age, our stomachs produce less acid, which means we absorb less B12 from foods like steak, eggs, or cheese. Jack was a meat and potatoes guy, but his B12 levels were barely scraping by. As Albert Einstein once said, life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving. For Jack, B12 was the push he needed to keep moving forward. I started Jack on a daily dose of methylcobalamin B12 1,000 mg, taken sublingually with breakfast. Why methylcobalamin? It's the active form your body can use right away, unlike the cheap cyanocobalamin in most drugstore brands. I also suggested he add more B12-rich foods, think clams, sardines, or fortified cereals. Jack chuckled. Clams? Doc, I'm a Chicago guy, not a seafood chef. But he gave it a shot, and the results were nothing short of incredible. A heart-stopping moment. 6 weeks later, Jack walked into my office with a story that still gives me chills. He'd been at a family barbecue, playing catch with his grandson, Tommy. For the first time in years, he didn't just toss the ball a few times and sit down. He ran, laughed, even dove for a catch, something he hadn't done since his firefighting days. But then, mid-game, he froze. Doc, I felt this rush, like my heart was racing, but not in a bad way. It was like I was alive again. That was B12, delivering oxygen to his muscles and brain, waking up the man he'd always been. The twist? Jack's brother, Tom, had been struggling with the same fog and fatigue. Tom was taking a multivitamin, thinking it had enough B12. But when we tested him, his levels were abysmal. The dose was too low, and the form was wrong. I put Tom on daily methylcobalamin, and within a month, he was back to fixing up his old Mustang, a project he'd abandoned years ago. I'm not just awake, Doc, I'm thinking again, he said. Consistency and quality turned his life around. Another transformation. Then there's Ed, a 69-year-old retired teacher from Wisconsin. Ed came to me because he couldn't focus on his favorite hobby, crossword puzzles. It's like my brain's stuck in quicksand, he said. His B12 was critically low. After 3 months on a daily B12 routine, he sent me a letter. Doc, I'm not just doing crosswords again, I'm teaching my grandkids how to solve them. I feel like I've got my mind back. B12 doesn't just fuel your body, it fuels your life. Jack was starting to feel like himself again, energy up, mind clearer. But there was one piece missing, something that would protect his progress and reignite the spark he'd been missing with Sarah. That's where the third vitamin came in, and it's one most men never even think about. Vitamin E, the shield that protects your masculinity. By now, Jack was a changed man, more energy, sharper focus, even a spring in his step. But during one visit, he leaned in and whispered, "Doc, I'm doing better, but the bedroom, it's still not right. I want to be there for Sarah, but I'm scared I can't." That vulnerability hit me hard. Jack wasn't just talking about physical performance, he was talking about feeling like a man again. That's when I introduced him to Vitamin E, the shield that protects your vitality, your hormones, and your confidence. Vitamin E isn't just for skin creams or beauty ads. For men over 60, it's a powerhouse antioxidant, fighting the inflammation and oxidative stress that creep up with age. Inflammation is like rust in your pipes. It stiffens blood vessels, lowers testosterone, and makes it harder for blood to flow where it needs to go. As John F. Kennedy once said, "The time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining." Vitamin E is that repair, keeping your blood vessels flexible, supporting testosterone, and protecting the parts of you that define your masculinity. For Jack, this was a game changer. I told him to add vitamin E-rich foods, almonds, sunflower seeds, spinach, or a drizzle of olive oil on his salads. If he wanted a supplement, it had to be natural D-alpha-tocopherol, not the synthetic stuff. Jack laughed. "Almonds? I thought those were for squirrels." But he started snacking on them daily and added olive oil to his dinners. 2 months later, he walked into my office with a grin I hadn't seen before. "Doc, Sarah and I had a date night last weekend. Let's just say we didn't just watch TV." That spark wasn't just physical, it was the confidence of feeling like a man again. A near miss, but here's where Jack's story took a dramatic turn. He'd bought a bottle of vitamin E from an online deal, thinking he was being smart. When I checked the label, it was synthetic, less effective, and potentially harmful in high doses. I see this mistake everywhere, men grabbing the cheapest option, not realizing it's like buying a knockoff battery that dies in a week. I switched Jack to natural vitamin E, 400 IU daily, taken with dinner. The difference was night and day. His energy was steadier, his mood brighter, and his connection with Sarah stronger than ever. Another life reclaimed. Take Bill, a 72-year-old retired carpenter from Michigan. Bill came to me feeling like half a man. His testosterone was low, his energy shot. We added vitamin E through foods like spinach and sunflower seeds. 3 months later, he was back to building birdhouses for his neighborhood, something he'd stopped years ago. "Doc, I feel like I'm living again, not just existing," he said. Vitamin E didn't just protect his body, it protected his purpose. The vitality triangle, the secret to unlocking your potential. Jack's transformation wasn't about one vitamin, it was about all three working together, what I call the vitality triangle. Vitamin D opens your blood vessels, B12 fuels your energy and brain, and E protects your hormones and circulation. Together, they are like a perfectly tuned engine, each part amplifying the others. As Maya Angelou once said, nothing can dim the light that shines from within. These vitamins help Jack's inner light shine again. I've seen this synergy transform countless men. Take Dave, a 68-year-old former coach from Indiana. Dave started with vitamin D, added B12, then included vitamin E 6 months later. He was leading his local senior hiking group, something he'd given up a decade ago. "Doc, I'm not just keeping up, I'm leading the pack," he said, beaming. The key? Consistency and quality, every single day. A community awakens. Here's the moment that still blows me away. Jack started talking about his progress at his weekly poker night. 5 buddies, all over 60, all feeling the same way he did. I invited them to a group session, and we tested their vitamin levels. Every single one was deficient in at least 2 of these vitamins. We built a group plan: morning walks for D, B12 with breakfast, almonds for E. 6 months later, they were calling themselves the Chicago Vitality Crew, planning a fishing trip together. It wasn't just about health, it was about brotherhood, laughter, and rediscovering what makes life worth living. The biggest mistake men make, and how to fix it. Jack's journey hit a snag one day when he showed up with a grocery bag full of supplements. "Doc, I've been taking these for months, but I'm not getting better," he said, his voice thick with frustration. I looked at the bottles: cheap, synthetic vitamins from an online sale. This is the biggest mistake men over 60 make, thinking all supplements are the same. Synthetic forms like cyanocobalamin, B12, or vitamin D2 are like watered-down coffee. They might taste similar, but they don't do the job. And taking them once in a while? That's like starting a car and expecting it to run all week. I helped Jack switch to the good stuff: vitamin D3, 2,000, 4,000 IU daily, methylcobalamin B12, 1000 mcg daily, and natural vitamin E, 400 IU daily. Timing mattered too: D3 and E with meals, B12 in the morning. Within a month, Jack was sleeping deeper, thinking clearer, and feeling closer to Sarah. "Doc, I wish I'd known this sooner," he said. The lesson? Quality and consistency aren't just details, they are everything. A wake-up call. Another patient, Steve, a 71-year-old retired salesman, made the same mistake. He'd been taking a multivitamin for years, thinking it covered him. His levels? Dismal. The doses were too low, the forms ineffective. After switching to targeted, high-quality supplements, Steve was back to playing golf with his buddies, something he'd stopped because of fatigue. "I thought I was done. Document turns out, I was just missing the right fuel," he said. Don't make the same mistake. Choose quality, and stick with it. Your daily vitality routine, simple steps to a stronger you. By now, you're probably thinking, "Okay, Doc, this sounds great, but how do I actually do it?" That's what Jack asked too. "I'm not a health nut," he said. "Just give me something simple that works." So, we built a routine that fit his life like a glove. Every morning, Jack drank a tall glass of water and took his B12, 1000 mg methylcobalamin, with a hearty breakfast: eggs, toast, maybe some yogurt. He'd walk for 15 minutes in the morning sun, coffee in hand, to boost his vitamin D. If it was cloudy, he took 2000 IU of D3. For lunch, he added a handful of almonds or a spinach salad with olive oil for vitamin E. That was it, no fads, no nonsense. 3 months later, Jack was a different man. He was chasing his grandkids around the backyard, planning date nights with Sarah, even rebuilding an old fire truck model he'd started years ago. "Doc, I don't just feel better, I feel like me," he said, his voice steady with pride. "This routine isn't about perfection, it's about showing up for yourself, day after day. As Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it's done. Jack did it, and so can you." A real-life win. Another patient, Frank, a 66-year-old former mechanic, was just as skeptical. "Vitamins? I fix cars, not bodies," he said. But he tried the routine: morning walks, B12, almonds. 2 months later, he was back in his garage, restoring a vintage Chevy for his son's wedding. "I didn't just get my energy back, I got my life back," he told me. That's what a simple, consistent routine can do. Conclusion: your second chance starts now. If you've made it this far, I want to talk to you not as a doctor, but as a man who's seen the weight you carry. You've built a life, fought battles, raised families, left your mark. And if you're sitting there, wondering if your best days are behind you, if you're too tired, too foggy, too disconnected to be the man you know you are, hear this: it's not over. Not even close. Jack Thompson proved it. So did Mike, Ed, Bill, Dave, Steve, Frank, and the Chicago Vitality crew. They didn't just reclaim their health, they reclaimed their lives. Jack went from a man who felt like a shadow to a grandfather who runs with his grandkids, a husband who dances with his wife, a firefighter who still carries that spark. Vitamin D gave him back his circulation, B12 his energy, E his confidence. But more than that, these vitamins gave him permission to fight for himself again. And that's what I want for you, my living fully after 50 family. You're not just aging, you're still here, still dreaming, still capable of living fully, boldly, without apology. So, what's your next step? You can let this moment slip away, or you can grab it. Start small. Take a 15-minute walk tomorrow morning, grab some almonds at the store, talk to your doctor about quality supplements. These aren't just vitamins, they are your tools to rebuild the man you are. Share this video with a friend, a brother, someone who needs to hear this. Hit that like button to let us know this matters. Drop a comment, your city, your story, what you want to learn next. Your voice builds this community. If you want to support Living Fully After 50, and our mission to help men over 60 live stronger, consider a small donation at the link in the description. Every bit helps us create more content like this, reaching more men like you. You're not just watching, you're part of a movement to redefine what it means to live fully after 50. Jack did it. You can too. Take that first step today. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, keep fighting for the man you are.